going on, y'all? So, I just finished uploading my lifestyle shift intro video, and I wanted to just jump right into the first thing. The number one thing, in my humble opinion, that must happen before changing your eating habits, before changing your exercise habits, before changing your wake-up routine, before changing any other aspect of your life, the number one thing, in, again, my humble opinion, that you must change is your mind, your own mind. People fail consistently, myself included. I have, backslides, setbacks. These things happen. But making it up in your mind that you're not going to give up on yourself, you're not going to quit on yourself, is going to be the most key and crucial component to any successes that you'll have, whether they be big or small. It doesn't matter. If you don't make it up in your mind first, nothing else is going to happen. So, wanted just to start at the beginning, I guess, of my, I guess you would say, journey. So in August of 2017, I was really bad. I was somewhere in the ballpark between 340 and 365 pounds at this point. I had tried dieting, I had tried eating right, for weight loss purposes, and I had failed, and I had failed and failed and failed more times than I'm even really willing to admit. And I was ashamed, and oftentimes I would get my family involved or on board, and I was just a failure. I had failed, and failure is okay. Failure does not mean much. Failure just means that you have a chance, you have a choice to grow from it. So, in August of 2017, I had a panic attack. So, at 27 years old, I had my first panic attack. No, I was 28. I had my first panic attack. Lost my mind. Ended up in the hospital. I had no idea what was wrong with me. I hadn't slept in 3 days, and then when I did try to fall asleep, I felt like I was dying. So it resulted in a trip to the ER. And I get to the ER, and of course I'm manic, freaking out. And I'm like, I'm gonna die. This is it. My kid, my brother, my mom. Oh my God! Like I've lost everything. And the doctor comes in. He puts the EKG on. He starts listening to my heart. And at first he's got this stethoscope up here, right? And he moves the stethoscope down like 4 inches. And he basically cracks a smile. He's looking at the EKG machine, and it's showing him the readout of my heart, and he just kind of puts a smirk on his face, and it was like he knew exactly what was happening, that I was having a panic attack. And of course, you're pretty much inconsolable at this point. You're losing your dang mind, So the doctor's like, listen, you're fine. You're having a panic attack. You're not dying, you're not having a heart attack. Like, your heart is so loud and strong that I actually had to move my stethoscope away from your heart because it was hurting my ears. And I was like, in a panic, I'm like, well, what does that mean, Doc? Is everything going to be okay? Like, I don't understand why I can't breathe, and I'm losing my mind. It's because I'm having a panic attack. So, of course, he's like, tells the nurse or whatever. Nurse comes in, shoots me up full of... God, I don't even remember what the heck it was called. But I was like, like one of those scenes from National Geographic when they trank an elephant. It's like, and the elephant hits the floor. It was like one of those scenes, right? So I'm unconscious, drifting in and out of consciousness in the hospital. And, I get home from the hospital that night, and I finally get a good sleep, and I just slept. I slept good, and I woke up. And I knew I need to go see my primary doctor, because I hadn't been to a primary doctor in forever. So I get on down the road to the primary doctor. He looks over my blood work, and he tells me, hey, besides being overweight, you're probably one of the healthiest people I've ever met. And I was like, well, that's great news. And then he told me that he had some concerns about diabetes, and I was like, oh, of course, that's something nobody wants to hear. And in my family background, one of my great uncles passed away as a child from juvenile diabetes, slipped into a coma and passed away. I think he was like under 10 years old. So of course I'm like, oh crap, like I had to do something. So I immediately went on a diet and like ate right, and you know, my mom was helping me like do some shopping and helping me like meal plan, and culmination of X amount of hours, 2 months later, I was eating, Taco Bell 3 times a week, and it just wasn't good. So fast forward to let's say April of this year. I want to say it was about April. I have a kid brother. So I'm 28. I have a kid brother. His name's Joey. He's 21. Joey basically tells me he wants to have a talk with me. And there's like this big intervention kind of sit down, and it's just me and him in the room. And he pretty much tells me that he's scared. He's scared that that I'm gonna die and that I'm gonna leave him here alone. Our family's not very big. It's like me, my mom, my brother, and one set of grandparents. There's not many of us. So he's crying, and I mean, just kind of drove the dagger right through my heart, and I felt like a failure, like I had failed. And again, yes, I had failed. I failed at my diets over the years. I failed to be responsible for what I was eating. I had failed 2 million times up until that point. And it broke me a little bit. It hurt me. It hurt me really, 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 really bad. I was an emotional wreck. I was, crying, and I didn't know what to do. So that was the moment, I think, for me, where I knew that change was the only option to save my life. I was morbidly obese, 360 pounds, 365 was the heaviest weight I've ever seen. It was really just a turning point in my life, and I knew I had to do something. So this is where my YouTube journey started, and I jumped on YouTube, and I watched hours of content about this, that, and the other, and I developed a strategy. I was going to start meal prepping so that my meals were controlled, or in a controlled style environment where, I got to understand the difference in my macros and micros of what I was eating, and I educated myself on nutrition. Now, I am in no way a professional, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm willing to say that some ground turkey and some veggies and some rice is way healthier than I don't know, what is that, number 7 from Taco Bell, like the quesadilla and 2 tacos and a soft drink. Calorically, there's no contest, and one is just better than the other, and that's the kind of things that I needed to control in order to actually achieve anything. So I started meal prepping, and I watched, I don't know, 300 videos on meal prep and what kind of things to do, and what were the best containers, and how do you cook 4 pounds of chicken at once, and how, and I did. I learned. I educated myself in a better way, a better way to live, a better way to eat. So I am learning every day still. I'm learning every day still. Never a dull moment, never a dull day. I'm learning every single day. But when I tell you that there is that moment that will come in your life, and you're just gonna break down, and it's gonna hurt, and you're gonna feel defeated, and you're not gonna want to. You're not gonna want to face your family. You're not gonna want to face your friends. You're not gonna want to. You're just gonna want to give up on yourself, on everyone around you. If you have kids, like I have a daughter, I felt like I wanted to give up, and I felt like I had let everybody down. And everybody around me is like, oh, you didn't let us down, we're, this, that, and the other. Basically, they're just happy you're alive. That's what it boils down to. You can trim the fat off of it however you want, but they're just happy you're not dead yet. So yeah, it was a turning point in my life, and it started the ball rolling, the ball rolling down the hill, and it's like the snowball effect. So like one positive thing leads into another positive thing, and you know, a couple hundred positive things from there, you're making progress. So think hard about this, okay? Think about when that moment happens, what are you going to do? Because I can't tell you just to pick up one day, go to the store, buy healthy food and exercise, you know, walking for 6 times a week, 5-6 times a week. I can't do that. You're going to decide for yourself, and you're going to have that breaking point. But when you reach that breaking point and you feel defeated and you feel like you're completely hopeless and there's nothing you can do, think about what you're going to do. Start that process now. So when that moment comes for you, you already know what kind of actions you want to take. Get ahead of the game. Get ahead of the curve, you know. None of this is easy. I promise you none of this is easy. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have days where you backslide and you maybe eat something, or, you know, you have a cheat day that turns into a cheat week. But it's getting back on track. It's keeping yourself honest. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to lose this weight for me. Nobody's going to lose that weight for you. And if I don't lose this weight, I'm going to an early grave. You too. Anybody. There's no arguing that. Statistics, science, you can't argue those kind of things. So keep yourself honest. You know, if you've got to give yourself a reason to keep going, mine is my family. My daughter, my brother, and my mother. In that order, in that very specific order. They are my reason when I backslide to get back on the horse. They're the reason why every day I try to get up and do better. You know, there are 1,000 different choices you will make, you know, every day, and it's your job to understand the repercussions for those choices, whether they be favorable or the other. So it's time for you to put together in your head what you're worth, what you're made of, and what you're willing to fight for. You know, I used to joke and say that I was athletic fat, because I could still do backflips into a pool at 300 pounds. So what? In 10 years, I'll be lucky to walk. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. So now I have to make those choices. So if you're a mom, you know, maybe you got some baby weight, maybe you were overweight before you became a mom. Put into perspective that if you don't change those things, if you don't change those eating habits, those lifestyle habits, if you don't create a better future for yourself, then your kids, they're just not going to have you around. And, you know, hopefully your spouse or partner is of better physical health, and they'll be around. But if not, you know, it gets real ugly at that point. So when you talk about, you know, wanting to make a lifestyle change, or you're considering making a lifestyle change, I think it's important that you remember that there are people depending on you. You know, if you have children, they're depending on you. You know, your siblings are depending on you to stay alive. You know, as we get older, our parents get older, they pass, it's just us left. And if you aren't there for your kids, you aren't there for your siblings or your cousins, or, you know, however big your family is, that's on you. Nobody else does that. And quite frankly and quite personally, I want to see my daughter graduate. I want to see her go off to college. I want to watch my brother grow and become the family man that I know he's going to become. These things are important to me, and this is why I fight. My fight is for my family. So find out what your fight's for. Is it for yourself? Is it to prove someone wrong? Is it to rub it in someone's face? Whatever your reason is, that reason in your drive, it has to be pretty powerful. So do some soul searching, figure out what that reason is, and then go after it, okay? That's going to be it for this video. I have some other videos coming up here soon. Thank you guys for watching, of course. Like, subscribe if you wish to. Definitely appreciate you guys. Keep up the hard work.